So I went on a bit of a shopping spree. Hi, my name is Fallon, and today I'm going to share some of the items I recently purchased for my quilting room. I'm going to show each item, talk a little bit about how to use it, and let you know my honest thoughts on them. So I have been wanting a new design wall in my quilt space for a while. When we moved into this house, I decided to get those foam boards and just staple some batting around them and attach them to my wall and use that as a design board. It worked really well at first. It was nice and big and could fit almost any of the quilts I was designing. However, with time, because of the weight of my blocks, batting started to kind of sag, and in some of the places on the design wall, it would really be hard to put blocks because the batting was all built up there and it just really didn't look nice anymore. I kept seeing these really beautiful felt design walls on Pinterest and Instagram, and I really wanted one. But when I would look at them, oh my goodness, they were so expensive. So one day on Amazon, I came across a felt design wall pack, or I guess it's a felt bulletin board. It comes with 6 squares in it, and the squares were about 12 by 12. It did show in the listing that they were more 11 and 3/4, but I felt like that was fine. Plus, they were a really good price. Well, they were a really good price compared to the others that I would see advertised. Now, they come in a lot of different colors. I chose the color that was a little light bluish, and I'm really happy with the color I chose. So when I purchased this pack, it was $22.99 for one box. And I ended up buying 2 boxes so that I would have 12 of the squares. Now when I went to look at it, there's $17.81. So if it's still that price, you might really want to grab them now if you are interested in these. I actually may purchase 2 more now that I know I really like them and make my wall a little bit larger, especially since they're on sale right now. Now, when I first opened the box, I was a little bit concerned because I could feel that these squares may not hold the fabric. Now, I was used to my design wall where I could just put my fabric squares up on the design wall and they would hold in place. I felt like this one would likely not hold them in place, but for the price, I decided to go ahead and move forward and put them up because I was pleasantly surprised that the package also came with some thumbtacks. Now, inside the package was the adhesive tape to attach it to the wall and some thumbtacks, as well as the instructions to attach it to the wall. So I was really excited about this because I'm sure it said in the listing, but I didn't notice that it would come with the thumbtacks. But it also comes with tacks that have hooks on them, and then some that have a paper clip. So I was really excited about that because one, the paperclip one, I can attach the pattern that I'm working at onto the wall. And then the hook is perfect to keep these right on the wall and handy for when I need to use them. Now, as I suspected, the blocks that I've made don't stay up on the wall without a thumbtack. However, small pieces of fabric that don't have seams seem to stay up there okay, but I do feel like if you walked by it and there's a little bit of a breeze, they'll fall off pretty easily. So keep that in mind. If you want a board that you don't need to use a thumbtack or something else to keep it up, then this might not be what you're looking for, but I'm really happy with it and I like the way it looks. It has a much cleaner look than my previous design wall. Now, the next item I purchased was a sewing machine mat. Now, this mat was from Madam Sew, and the mat was $24.99. I've been wanting a mat like this that will help muffle the sounds of my sewing machine and definitely help with the vibration. My sewing table is just a really cheap IKEA table and it's not very sturdy, so when my machine really gets going fast, the vibrations can be a little bit annoying. So the mat was really easy to use. I just put it under the main part of my sewing machine, and two of the feet on the sewing table extension I have kind of hung off the end of the mat, but thankfully I can just adjust that so the table is still nice and level. I honestly wondered a little bit if it would actually work that well and help with the vibration, but I tested it out and it actually really does. I was very, very pleasantly surprised, and it was definitely worth the money. I also kind of wish I had purchased it sooner, but I'm going to make a little bit of a confession here. I am really bad about cleaning out my sewing machine really well. I try to clean out the dust from the machine each time I change out the bobbin thread, but if I'm being honest, it's usually just a quick swipe of my brush to get the big pieces of dust out, and then I move on with sewing. So I have received two of these Oh So Clean brush and cloth sets from different subscription boxes that I have, and I really like the microfiber cloth that comes in it. It definitely needs a wash. But the two brushes that came with it are just so soft, and they don't really get in there and clean really, really well, in my opinion. I usually use this brush that is full of dust that came with my Bernina sewing machine. The bristles are pretty stiff, but the handle is so short. Same with these, you really can't get very far into the machine. So I finally decided to purchase a brush that was longer, little prettier, honestly, since it's wooden, but that has some stiffer bristles like on the Bernina brush that I already had. And the bristles are longer too, so it really gets far back into the machine. I already cleaned the machine out when I used it, but it still got farther back than I could get with my other tools, and it even found some more dust and debris back there. So I am really happy with this purchase. Oh, and just to let you know, that sewing machine cleaning brush is $8.99. Now, while I was looking for a brush to clean out my sewing machine, I came across a vacuum that is handheld, nice and lightweight, that I thought would be great for cleaning out my sewing machine as well. I'm using it to clean the dust from around my sewing machine and probably around where I cut fabric and iron as well. But I really thought that with all the attachments that came with this vacuum, that it would work really well to get inside there and pull some dust out that I really couldn't reach easily. Now, I am not a sewing machine repair expert at all, so I don't know if they would say not to use something like this. I felt like I was pretty comfortable using it just to pull some dust out, as long as I was careful and didn't hit any, important parts inside of the sewing machine. Now, this vacuum came with a bag, a charging cord, the instructions, and a whole bunch of attachments for it. There are even attachments that go on the back of the handheld vacuum that will blow air out. Now, I definitely wouldn't use those attachments on the sewing machine to blow air around the machine because it could push dust further back into the machine, but you could use it on something like your computer keyboard to brush dust out of the keys if you would like. Now, this vacuum that I purchased is one of the more expensive purchases on my list. It was priced at $49.99, but I am really happy with the purchase, and hopefully it'll help me keep my space and my sewing machine a little cleaner, because boy, does it get dusty around here when I'm sewing a lot. All right, so the next two items that I purchased were for binding. Now, I've talked about it before on my channel. I really struggle with binding my quilts. I lose motivation when I get to this stage because it is such a tedious task, but it is one that must be done. So I'm always looking for tools that make that step a little bit easier. So one of the purchases I made was a magnetic seam guide. Now, I already have a small magnetic seam guide, but this one seemed like it would be a little bit better for using when I am binding a quilt because it has the attachment on top that can be adjusted that will hold the fabric in place. So I figured this seam guide would be really good when I am doing the final top stitching on my binding if I'm choosing not to flip it to the back and hand stitch it in place. I really struggle with machine stitching the binding in place on the top because I can't keep it nice and straight. The binding always wants to shift or move around, and I can't get a nice straight row of stitches. So I am hoping that this attachment on top of the seam guide will hold the binding in place and make it much easier to sew. So the price for this magnetic seam guide was $9.99. Now the final set that I have here to show you is from Purple Hobbies, and it is also to help with binding. It is called the Third Hand Binding Set. Now I purchased the set, which is $56.99. However, the reason I'm not saying this is the most expensive item on the list is because you can purchase these separately. And honestly, the main item that I really wanted was this piece here, but I wanted to review the whole set as a whole as well. Now, if you just wanted to purchase this tool here, it is $15.22. And what you do is cut your fabric strips to size, feed them through here, and it will keep it nice and folded for you as you iron it. Now, I purchased the piece that is for 2.5-inch binding strips, but they have that tool available in a lot of different sizes, so you can purchase the size that you like for your binding strips to be. The other two pieces here, the little binding winder and the clamp to hold the winder in place, I've just found these to be really fun. I wanted to try them out. Now the binding, after you fold the binding and press it in place, you can spin it onto the wheel so that it keeps it all nice and organized for you. I thought that was really cute. But there honestly are a lot of different ways that you can store your binding. They have those acrylic pieces that you can put your binding around. So if you already have those, you may not need the wheel. That is why I really liked that you could buy these pieces separately so that you don't have to spend so much to get a really nice and handy tool. I have to tell you, after using the Third Hand binding tool, I'm absolutely in love with it. I would purchase it over and over again if I needed to. It is absolutely amazing. It makes folding the binding in half and pressing it so much easier. Now, do I like the wheel? I do. I think it's really fun, but I don't know if I would grab it to use each time I need to make a binding. I think if you had a small child who would like to use it, either your kid or a grandchild, and help you wind your binding as you press it, I think it would be a lot of fun for them. But I honestly probably wouldn't purchase it again. And with my pressing space, I couldn't find anywhere that I could clamp it in place. So I kind of had to use both hands to hold it and wind it. So that might be part of the reason why I'm not as in love with that component as I am with the small binding tool that helps you fold the binding and press it really easy. That tool I absolutely love and would highly recommend it. Oh, one other thing that I thought was really fun about this binding set was that it is available in a lot of different colors. So if you don't like the purple, they have it available in white and orange and just all kinds of different colors. All right, so those are all of my fun new purchases. I'm so excited about them. Let me know in the comments if you have used any of them, tried any of them, or now want to try any of them in your quilting space. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.